Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bernard Gunathilaka, Chairman, Pathfinder Foundation, speaking from the Pathfinder headquarters at River Point. Today, the foundation is happy to introduce Dr. Liu Shongyi, head of the Center for South Asia Studies at the Shanghai Institute for International Studies. In short, we call the institute SIIS. The institute was established in 1960 as a comprehensive research institution, one of the earliest government-affiliated think tanks in China, dedicated to international studies. Over the past 6 decades, SIIS has played a crucial role in conducting strategic research, providing policy recommendations, and enhancing the understanding of international politics, economics, security, and related fields. It has become an important institution that informs and shapes China's foreign policy and global engagement. It has been recognized as one of the most influential think tanks in China and worldwide. The institution comprises 6 institutes and 8 centers for area studies, including the Center for South Asia Studies. It has also established 8 in-house research platforms, including the Center for BRI and Shanghai Studies. As a Foreign Ministry accredited policy advisory institution, SIIS actively partners with government agencies and higher education institutions, establishing joint research centers. It oversees the Shanghai Society of International Relations and the Shanghai Institute for International Strategic Studies, and hosts several research groups, including the Shanghai Japan Studies Society, the Shanghai Institute for European Studies, and the Shanghai Institute for Future Asian Studies. It publishes 2 academic journals, Global Review, a Chinese bi-monthly, and China Quarterly of International Strategic Studies, which is published in English language, and it releases occasional papers in both Chinese and English languages. Dr. Liu is the director of the Center for South Asia Studies at the SIIS, and he heads the research office of major power relations at the Institute of International Strategic and Security Studies of the SIIS, and the director of the Center for China Studies located in Bangladesh. In fact, he is visiting Colombo today, having performed certain responsibilities in Dhaka, Bangladesh. His research interests mainly focus on India's economy and foreign policy, China's foreign policy, BRICS, and G20. In recent years, Dr. Liu has published papers in Chinese and foreign language journals on these subjects and has contributed more than 300 commentaries in Chinese and English for newspapers and magazines. Dr. Liu received his Bachelor of Arts degree in economics from the Shandong University of Finance and Economics and a diploma for Chinese and American Studies from the Johns Hopkins University Nanjing Center. He obtained a master's and PhD degrees in international relations from China Foreign Affairs University. He worked at the German Development Institute, DIE, OECD, Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C., Indian National Institute of Public Finance and Policy, and Institute of Strategic Studies of Islamabad as a visiting fellow. Pathfinder Foundation is happy to host Dr. Liu as its distinguished guest today, who will speak to you from the River Point office of the Pathfinder Foundation. The topic he would focus on is China's response to the current global economic challenges, which should interest Sri Lankans as well as other participants. The duration of our session will be approximately 90 minutes. Following the presentation made by Dr. Liu, which will last approximately 20 minutes or thereabout, we will provide an opportunity for the audience to raise questions or seek clarifications. We hope Dr. Liu's contribution will make it possible for the participants to understand the Chinese point of view on emerging global challenges and how his country plans to address issues affecting not only China, but also the countries in the South. With this introduction, I would like to invite you to speak.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Silva and Major General Saleh and Gayatri. Thank you. Thank you so much. Actually, I'm not so familiar with the Chinese economic policies now, but you give me a topic, and I would like to see several words on China's response to current global economic challenges. Firstly, I would like to know what is the major challenges facing the global economy and their root causes. We would like to analyze this. I think the first challenge is geopolitical risks. Because of persistent regional conflicts, such as Russia-Ukraine war, have severely disrupted the supply and the price stability of the critical global commodities, including energy and food. The resurgence of trade protectionism is exemplified by the Trump administration's high tariff trade war against China and other nations. Actually, it's against the whole world, has undermined the normal functioning of global industrial and supply chains. Heightened strategic competition and friction among major powers have further exacerbated uncertainties in the global economy. It's the first challenge. The second is the fragility of global financial markets. As we know, in 2025, the U.S. faces $7 trillion US dollars in debt maturities and refinancing, coupled with declining confidence in the US dollar and a global trend of central banks reducing holdings of US treasuries while increasing gold reserves. Systemic financial turbulence may erupt. Banking crises in the US and Europe have roiled global markets with plunging bank stock prices, inverted bond yield curves, and weakened investor confidence. The Federal Reserve's aggressive interest rate hikes have triggered financial volatility, pressing emerging markets with capital outflows and currency depreciation. Weak finance regulation and insufficient oversight of the institutional risk management have amplified vulnerabilities, increasing the likelihood of financial risk accumulation and crises. The third challenge is sovereign debt pressures. Rising global interest rates and slowing economic growth have intensified sovereign debt pressures, particularly in developing and emerging economies. Expanding debt burdens, soaring debt servicing costs, and heightened default risks threaten global financial stability. If left unresolved, These debt issues could further destabilize global finance markets and impede worldwide economic recovery. And the fourth aspect is climate change and environmental issues. Climate change has driven a surge in extreme weather events and natural disasters, inflicting heavy losses on agriculture, energy, infrastructure, and socio-economic development. Massive investments required for green transition strain global financial resources. Additionally, environmental degradation, including pollution and ecological destruction, constrains sustainable economic growth. And the last challenge, I think, is other structural challenges, because accelerating aging populations in advanced economies have exacerbated labor shortages, driving up labor costs, increasing pension burdens, and dampening potential economic growth. Global technological innovation faces bottlenecks with slow progress in critical fields like semiconductors and biotechnology, hindering sustained rapid growth. Persistent wealth inequality in some nations undermines social stability and limits the expansion of consumer markets. I think these are challenges we are facing globally. And what measures and policies adopted by the Chinese government? Firstly, it's proactive fiscal policy and prudent monetary policy. In 2025, China will moderately raise its fiscal deficit ratio to 4%, increasing fiscal expenditures primarily to expand the domestic demand, safeguard livelihoods, and support infrastructure construction, technological innovation, and related fields. Concurrently, the central government will enhance fiscal transfers to local governments to bolster local financial capacity and ensure the delivery of grassroots public services. On the monetary front, China will maintain reasonable growth in money supply and aggregate financing, employing measures such as reverse requirement ratio (RRR) cuts and interest rate reductions to lower corporate financing costs, support the real economy, and guide financial institutions to increase credit support for key sectors and vulnerable areas. And secondly, is expanding domestic demand. The Chinese government is stimulating household consumption potential and promoting consumption upgrades by raising residents' income levels, improving the social security system, and optimizing the consumption environment. Simultaneously, it is strengthening infrastructure development, advancing new urbanization and rural revitalization strategies, and fostering coordinated regional development to unlock the vast potential of the domestic market. These efforts aim to reduce reliance on external markets and strengthen the economy's endogenous growth momentum. The third is tariff countermeasures and trade diversification. In response to the Trump administration tariff war, China implemented retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods and non-tariff countermeasures such as rare earth export controls to safeguard national interests. Additionally, China is actively diversifying trade by deepening cooperation with ASEAN, the EU, and other economies, as well as expanding trade with Belt and Road Initiative partner countries to reduce dependence on the U.S. market. In 2024, China's export to ASEAN grew by 9.3%, partially offsetting the decline in exports to the United States. As we know that over the past months, the US has proactively engaged with China through multiple channels, seeking negotiations on tariff issues. And on this May 12, China and the United States issued the Geneva Joint Statement on Economic and Trade Talks, committing to mutually eliminate 91% of the existing tariffs and suspend 24% of the tariffs. China has secured victory in the first phase of the tariff war, I think. The Trump administration strategy was rooted in a flawed assumption that the US remains the indispensable core of the global economic system. Trump relentlessly touted the allure of American consumers to global businesses, while his advisors repeatedly emphasized that the US market is an irresistible honeypot. However, this assumption has become profoundly disconnected from the reality of today's interdependent trade landscape. Because by 2025, the global economy has evolved into a multipolar structure with multiple trade power centers distributed worldwide, including China, the EU, ASEAN, and Gulf Cooperation Council. Crucially, these centers are increasingly interconnected through formal trade agreements and shared infrastructure networks. The hub and spoke system mindset that once dominated US negotiating strategies has been eclipsed by the decentralized new order. And the fourth measures taken by China is to driving industrial upgrading and technological innovation. China is accelerating the transformation of its manufacturing sector towards high-end intelligence and green development to enhance industrial added value and competitiveness. It has significantly increased R&D investments in crucial core technologies such as semiconductors, integrated circuits, AI, and biotechnology to achieve greater technological self-reliance. By 2024, domestic semiconductor equipment accounted for 23% of the market share, while Huawei Harmony OS surpassed 300 million installations, reflecting tangible progress in technological innovation and industrial upgrading for China. And the fifth is deepening supply side structural reform. China continues to advance reform to cut overcapacity, reduce inventory, deleverage, lower costs, and address structural weaknesses, optimizing industrial structure and improving the quality and efficiency of the supply system. Strengthen the financial regulation aims to prevent and mitigate financial risks while fostering a virtuous circle between finance and the real economy. Reforms of the state-owned enterprises are accelerating to enhance their vitality and competitiveness, alongside policies to encourage private sector development and unleash market creativity. The last set of measures is strengthening international cooperation and multilateral trade. China firmly supports the multilateral trading system, actively participated in World Trade Organization reform, and promotes an open global economy. By joining negotiations such as the DEPA, its Digital Economy Partnership Agreement, and the CPTPP, China is aligning its rules with international standards and deepening cooperation. In 2024, China signed free trade agreements with 26 countries, covering 40% of the global economy, injecting fresh momentum into worldwide economic growth. It's China's measures have taken. So what's the lessons for the other developing nations, I think? First, we must uphold open cooperation because developing countries should steadfast support multilateralism, actively engage in global economic governance, oppose trade protectionism, and strengthen trade and investment cooperation with other nations. By opening markets to attract foreign investment and technology, they can promote industrial upgrading and economic development. Simultaneously, enhanced source-to-source cooperation and regional collaboration will enable collective responses to global economic challenges and foster mutual benefits. I think Sri Lanka's application to join RCEP is a very wise choice. And secondly, I think we should promote economic diversification. Over-reliance on a single industry or limited export products exposes economies to significant risks. Developing nations should diversify their economies by building multi-sector industrial systems encompassing manufacturing and services, thereby improving economic stability and risk resilience. Cultivating domestic consumer markets reduces dependence on external markets and strengthens endogenous growth drivers. And lastly, I think we should strengthen capacity building. I think we should prioritize education and talent development to elevate workforce quality, nurture innovative professionals, and provide robust human capital for economic growth, and strengthen infrastructure development, improve the investment climate, and enhance government governance capabilities to create a sustainable foundation for the development. Thank you. I would like to stop here.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. That was a very comprehensive area you have covered with regard to China's experience and the measures one could take to improve the capacity of economies of each country. Now it is time for us to see whether there are any questions. Gayatri, do we have any? Until we get the audience to ask questions, let me take a point or two. One is with regard to bilateral trade. We understand the bilateral trade between China and the US is estimated to be around $582 billion in 2024. Exports from the US to China was around 143 billion. And imports to US from China were 438 billion. And now, against this kind of a backdrop, not only the economy of China, but also the employment situation of the Chinese people are at stake. And if this situation were to be disrupted in a heavy manner, we could expect not only economic chaos, but also social unrest and related matters,
Yeah.
depending on the severity of the situation. So my question is, will China be able to maintain such impressive growth what you have already experienced, unless China is able to reach an amicable understanding with the United States?
Yeah.
That is the question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, just as I talked with you before the seminar, the United States launched the trade war towards China. It's from 2018. So from that time, we have do some adjustment and restructure of our economy. We found that situation is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Especially we found the United States, it's really want to decouple with China. It's not just say it to decouple with China. It's really want to do that. They just want to isolate Chinese economy, isolate China in the world. So we did some preparation in the past. It's past 9 years. Actually, it's 9 years. 9 years. It's 7 years. 7 years past. It's 7 years. And just as you said, it's true that we are facing a lot of pressures from the labor market. You know, a lot of people cannot get work because their production cannot export to United States again. But also, just as the Chinese government did, we would like to upgrade our industries. Yeah, of course, in this process, we are facing pressure because a lot of laborers cannot get high qualified trained in this process. You know, because upgraded industries need high qualified laborers. But before that, these laborers, especially some workers, they did not get high educated training. So it's a challenge for Chinese government. We are solving this issue. We are solving this issue. And other measures is that a lot of Chinese companies would like to invest to other countries. You know, not especially for the private companies along the Chinese coastal regions. They would like to invest to other countries. I think including Sri Lanka. if you can open your doors and welcome Chinese companies here, I think they would like to invest here. A lot of Chinese companies shifted to Southeast Asia.
Yes.
For example, Vietnam, Indonesia and Malaysia in the past years. So today the problem is that United States not only launched the tariff war towards China, but also to other countries. So how can China and other countries do? Because you can find in the past 7 years, China and Southeast Asian countries, ASEAN countries, and some South Asia countries, they have formed a supply chain, a very complicated supply chain and value chain. So how can United States cut down this supply chain and value chain? So the result is that China and ASEAN countries, they united together to counterback the United States. So I think in the future, the United States cannot continue their tariff wars against the whole world. And fourthly, because the United States reached the tariff war towards China. It caused a lot of problem in their own domestic market. They are facing a lot of price pressure. Their inflation is very high. You can find if they do not import Chinese goods, their inflation will become very high, and the Trump administration cannot afford that. So I think their policies towards China is their tariff policy towards China cannot continue. Yeah, we are facing a lot of pressure, and they also facing a lot of pressure. So the tariff war is not a win-win one. It's a lose-lose one. Yeah.
Well, still relating to the tariff, so-called tariff war, the American side, the proponents of tariff on China have argued that tariffs will bring manufacturing jobs back to the US. And the bilateral tariff should be reciprocal. US should eliminate its trade deficits with China. And China should change its policies governing intellectual property and investment. There are various other demands they have made. But this plan to bring back the jobs back to US from China, because in the first place they went out of the US because the labor cost in the US is high.
Very high.
So they went abroad to places like China or other countries in Southeast Asia. But to bring the work back into the United States, is it something doable, or is it a dream, or what is called
just a dream? It's just a dream, because the labor cost in the United States is very high, and now they are accustomed to the salary life. They cannot work so hard to in the factories. In the past decades, they just enjoyed their life. They can get money from the financial market. They just print US dollars to the whole world and get money from the financial market. So they cannot suitable to the hard working in the factory, I think. And you can find the industrial cost in United States is very high compared to not only to China but to other neighboring countries, to European countries. So nobody want to invest manufacturing sectors in United States. Except that they are facing pressure for the United States. For example, the Taiwan semiconductor factories, they invest in the United States. They are forced to invest there. Not they really want to invest in the United States. They know that they cannot get benefit from their investment in the United States. Yeah.
Dr. Liu.
Yeah.
I have a question. You today enjoy the highest share in world trade. You're the number one.
Sorry?
Highest share in world trade.
Yeah.
If you take the export trade.
Yeah.
There is an argument that you export is heavily subsidized. Giving domestic support to your local manufacturers. And that created undue competitive advantage. With that, you being able to successful. So this is a one side of the argument. So how do you respond to that kind of, I mean, this is subsidy on the one hand, and the one is what you call this dumping.
Mm.
Dumping. Those are two distinguished trade concerns.
Yeah.
As witnessed in number of WTO dispute settlement cases. So what is your?
Yeah. I know that there are a lot of complaint about the so-called subsidies for Chinese exported goods. Actually, from my understanding, from my observation, I think it's mainly because the main reason for Chinese for so many Chinese goods exported to the whole world is the competitiveness of Chinese goods. It's not because of the so-called subsidies, you know. Maybe in the early days of Chinese economic development, Chinese government gave some subsidies, provided some subsidies to the exporters, but in the last decade, I don't think the Chinese government will not provide provided the subsidies to Chinese companies because Chinese exported goods, their quality enjoyed a high competitiveness compared to other countries in products, you know. You can find with the upgrade of Chinese industries, a lot of Chinese goods in China, a lot of Chinese companies, they produce the same production. So there are heavy competition among them. Who can win? The only those one who can compete others, out-compete others can win.
Within China.
Yeah, in China, within China. Only these goods can export to the world. So the competitiveness in China is very seriously. And these products competitiveness with other countries, they can outcompete with other countries' production, I think. So it also causes a problem because domestically the competition is too severe. So these companies, a lot of other companies would like to find a market from other countries, from the world to the whole world, you know. So why in the recent years? It's not only because the trade war between United States and China. It's also because the severe competition domestically that caused a lot of Chinese companies were like to invest to other countries, you know. Yeah. So I think now United States and European countries, they think that it's mainly because of the subsidy provided by Chinese government that make Chinese products have so a high competition. It's not true. It's not true. Yeah. The problem is, for example, the EV,
Yes.
electric vehicle.
Yes.
No other countries compete with China. Why? Because at the beginning, there are thousands of Chinese factories compete the EV sector, and at last you can find there only maybe less than, I think it's less than 10 factories still there.
Dr. Lee, there's a related question on that is, now this US tariff is a recent, but earlier you had faced heavy tariff, high tariff on your electric vehicle in the European market. Is it right?
I'm sorry.
High tariff in European markets.
Yeah, high
Imposed
tariff.
on the electric vehicle on Chinese exports. So
Yeah.
is that still a concern for the Chinese government?
Actually, I don't think we are concerned about that.
Okay.
Yeah. I heard from some producer of EV. Even if European countries put so high tariffs towards Chinese products, the Chinese EV still competitive in their market, enjoy competition advantage in their market. And now I think China and the EU have reached some agreement on the issue. Yeah. Every year, China only export to EU market for how many EV, and they can develop their own products. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question with regard to US securities purchased by China around 2003 at its height. China had invested about $1.3 billion worth of US securities. But
Security.
Yeah.
Security.
And now it has come down to something like $759 billion, almost halved.
Yeah.
Now the question is it a policy by the Chinese government to sell off the securities, US securities, and basically wipe the hands off so that you will not rely on the US for US bonds and other securities? Is it a policy, or is it a normal downward trend?
You can find not only China, but the alliance of United States, they also did that. For example, Japan. Yeah, they also reduce their bond, their share of the U.S. bond and security. And I think also some European countries also did that. Yeah. So it's related to the how to say, their confidence towards US dollars and the US economy. So I think it's a problem for the United States. If the United States can give these countries confidence, then these countries can still hold their security. Invest in the United States. But now the United States is the largest uncertainty factor in the world economy. So it's caused a problem. So from Chinese perspective, we think the United States itself have some domestic problem. You know, they have their domestic problem. They cannot cure. They have some disease. The United States economy have some disease, but they cannot cure this disease by themselves. They just ask other countries to take pause, and they just ask other countries to solve the problem for them. So now it's a struggle between United States and China and the whole world, I think.
We have a question
from
Professor Rohan Samarajiva. What is China's position on the WTO and adherence to the most favored nation principle in the context of the US flouting that principle, MFN, the most favored nation?
Most favored nation.
Yeah, the most.
Most favored nation.
Yeah, most favored nation.
So here, what is China's position on the WTO and adherence to that principle, the most favored nation principle?
Most favored nation.
Yeah. Dr. Dai, you might not.
Well,
You can answer.
one of the fundamental principles of the WTO
Yeah, I know
the
that.
most favored
Yeah.
nation.
Yeah.
So I think this China's position, as I understand, is very clear. You support and you promote the MFN principle. It is United States of America who is violating the most.
Yes.
Right? It is not China.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
this is clearly evident from the tariff policy, Trump's policy. They have violated fundamentally MFN principle. You, in the WTO, though you acceded to the WTO 2003, I think you support and continue to support it.
Yeah. After China become member of WTO from 2001, we we adhere the principles and the regulations of WTO. Actually, we can find the United States, especially United States, attacked China on this issue. They always said China violate or make use of the regulations and the principles of WTO. Actually, it's not. It's just it's mainly because Chinese people working very hard. We paid we paid a lot of paid a lot much more than the United States people and the European people did in the past decades. So we developed so fast, and they don't believe that. They don't believe the Chinese can get economic development in so short time. Yeah, because they developed to such a level after hundreds of years, but the Chinese developed to such a level, to the same level as them, just in the several decades. So they don't believe that. So they attack China, violate the principles and the regulations of WTO. And they also said that it's the United States benefit China, help China to develop such a level. It's not true. It's not true. Yeah. So I think because South Asia and China, we all belong to the Asian civilizations. So we have a very good and glorious past. So I think China can get so fast development in the past decades. I think other East Asian and South Asian countries can also get so fast development in the future, even if you can keep political stability and social stability. You can do that. Chinese can do that. Also, other South Asian countries and East Asian countries also can do that. Yeah. Japan is the first Asian countries to realize modernization. Yeah. At that time, in the 19th century, it's in the 19th century. Of course, Japanese road, we cannot learn from them because they invaded other countries to get wealthy from other countries, especially China. But China realized such modernization through a peaceful way. We did not invade other countries. So I think we can cooperate together to realize the revitalization of our Asian civilizations.
So Professor Samarajiva is further asking, will China seek WTO arbitration against US violations?
Yeah, we would like to found such arbitration, but the United States will not abide by the rules, I think. United States established the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary System and the World Trade System after the Second World War. They set up the rules for these regulations, for these terms. Today, they violate by themselves. It's not by China. China abide by the rules and the regulations. Yeah.
The question is, would you file a case like Professor Samarajiva asked?
Yeah.
Would you go to the WTO dispute settlement body?
Yeah, we did.
The
By the
challenge,
way, sorry to interrupt. Dr. Silva
Yeah.
was the Sri Lanka ambassador to WTO.
Okay.
So
so this is why I'm asking.
Okay.
So this is an opportunity. This is a United States action. There is no doubt. It's a gross violation of the WTO principle. So I don't know what the Geneva process now. You had several talks. Would the China has taken any initiative to file case against United States? Whether they abide by or not, have you taken that step?
I think I have taken.
No.
Yeah. Okay. I think I heard have taken. Yeah, because we respect the current international order circled with the United Nations, including WTO. Yeah.
Yes, that was the
Anything
follow-up
else?
question.
No?
No, there's more question.
Right.
But just a follow-up question.
Yeah. Free
When we
discussion.
talk about this bilateral trade, right?
Yes.
I'm just looking at the bilateral trade between the Sri Lanka and China. Heavily imbalanced
Yes.
in favor of you. You are the largest trading partner, exporting to the tune of 5 billion.
Yeah.
We hardly export about 300-400 million. Now, Sri Lanka is not alone. Many developing countries, right?
Yes.
We buy from you more than you sell to us.
Yeah.
Some of the concern that the traders express is, the access to the Chinese market is really deprived because of the plethora of, various kind of standard technical regulation, which our exporters cannot understand, who you call them as non-tariff barriers.
Yes.
Now, if such developing countries like us are not competent or not able to meet those requirements, I think as a the country who have been benefited at a very large scale, have some kind of commitment to support these countries, to upgrade their production facilities, to meet your standards. That's a kind of a development commitment that the Chinese government should undertake and promote mutual trade. This is what I would put forward.
Yes. I totally agree with you, because so many countries have trade deficit with China, especially for some developing countries. Actually, in South Asia, no countries can get trade surplus from the bilateral trade with China. India complained for many years. But what is the reason? The reason is that these countries, their industries is not so developed. Their products cannot compete with Chinese products. Even the pharmaceutical sectors pharmaceutical products in India, cannot compete with China now. So, and the skill of their pharmaceutical manufacturing is small, is relatively small compared with those in China. Before Chinese ambassador, it's ambassador Ambassador Kant at that time. He told me, Chinese should open market for India pharmaceutical products. But at that time, India's pharmaceutical export is only $10 billion. $10 billion. And what's the trade deficit between India and China? It's $60 billion. So even China open market for the whole India pharmaceutical products, the trade imbalance cannot be changed. I think you have competitive products such as black tea. Your black tea is welcome in China, But I think South Asian countries should develop your own industry and can have more and more qualified products exported to China. Actually, China open markets, especially after the COVID-19. Why in Shanghai we held the Shanghai Export Expo? We would like to welcome the other countries' products to enter Chinese market. The black tea of Sri Lanka is very welcome in the Shanghai Import Expo. I buy some tea every year, and actually I think for Sri Lanka, my humble observation, I think Sri Lanka's economic system has some problem. Economic system has some problem. I think as a country, you'd better to develop some industries suitable to your own national conditions. Actually, at the beginning stages of the industrial development, maybe some industry has some pollution, but you can put forward some regulations to avoid the pollution. But no pollution it's not a reality. Even if you would like to develop industries, there's some pollution, but you can control. And because now Chinese has a lot of green industries, you can absorb such green industries to Bangladesh, to Sri Lanka. The solar industry and some green energy industries. You can abstract some. Because last year, when the early of this year, when the chief advisor of Bangladesh interim government, Dr. Yunus, visited China, he asked the Chinese government to transfer some green industries to Bangladesh. Yeah, you know, Bangladesh's pollution is very heavy. It's very heavy. They would like to green some, to develop some green industries in Bangladesh. A green industry is also industries, you know, and you can export the products to other countries. You can use these solar energies and other green energies by yourself, and also you can export it to other countries. So I hope Sri Lanka can solve your economic structure problems. And my another observation, another humble observation is that Sri Lanka is a welfare country. You your government provide a lot of welfare to the elderly people. But your budget every year, I don't think you have so much budget to provide the whole welfare to the whole people. So it's caused a lot of problem. But this problem cannot solve. It's very difficult to solve, you know. Because you can only increase the welfare to the people. You cannot decrease welfare to the people. So if you provide so many welfare to the people and you have no enough money to develop your industries and your infrastructures. So
the quality of service also suffers as a result. I have a quick question, once again, going back to the trade war, tariff war, what we have experienced in the recent past. We know that that India took one particular road to address the situation, and China took a different road to address the same situation.
Yeah.
Now we understand that India has already signed an FTA with the United Kingdom, and in 2 days' time, Indian Trade Minister is going to the US to discuss about new trade arrangement or agreement or free trade arrangements or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now, question is, do you or is China planning similar activity with a view to reach an understanding with the US by sending a high-level delegation to Washington to see how we can negotiate?
No. We just finished the negotiation in Geneva. So we will not send the delegation to Washington, D.C., I think. You know, that's as I mentioned to you. India is the first country to kneel down to Trump. Modi is the first prime minister, first world leader kneel down to Trump after Trump administration formed. You know, in this February, Prime Minister Modi visited Washington D.C. and actually he accepted almost all the orders from President Trump on the trade issue, on the trade tariff issue, and on the immigration issue. Yeah, and also Trump would like India become how to say walking dog to check and balance China, just like Japan. The Japanese did in the East Asia, and in the Asia and Pacific region, you know. And I think Prime Minister Modi accept almost all the requirements from the United States. But United States also wage tariffs war against India. you can find after the April 2, after April 2, the so-called Independence Day of United States. So, and at this time, why India would like to accept the requirements for United States? Because they think it's another generation for it's another opportunity for generation to substitute China in the world supply chain and value chain. I found in the past 7 years, India scholars and India elites have said for 3 times. The first time is in 2018, when Trump waged the trade war against China. India elites think the opportunity for China, for India come, to develop their economy, develop their industries, to substitute, to replace China. At that time, they put forward some special policies to persuade the transnational companies to shift their production chains in China to India. It's the first time. The second time is in 2020, after the COVID-19 took place. India said it's Mr. Jaishankar's son, Dhruva Jaishankar, said it's an opportunity for generation for India. It's our time to develop our industries, just like China in 1970s, in 1980 and 90s, and United States in 1940 and 50s. They think this is another opportunity for India. So you can find in the past 7 years, India gets some achievements in, especially in the smartphone production, because at the time before 2017, a lot of Chinese smartphone companies, producers, invested in India and formed a whole production chains in India. So after 2020, India took a lot of measures to increase tax to Chinese companies and different checks towards Chinese companies. So the Chinese owners of these companies was driven out of India, and India companies occupied the production chain of the smartphone. Now you can find they get some success, they get some achievements, but do you think Chinese companies will to invest in India again? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's you can find the economic development, the supply chain and the shift of supply chain and industrial chains in the history is from the United States to Japan, South Korea, and Hong Kong, Taiwan, and then to the mainland of China. So in the future, I think it's from mainland China to Southeast Asia and South Asia. It's a natural process. It's a natural process. But India would like to substitute China or replace China in advance. So they cannot achieve their dream. Now they think today is the third time for them to replace China. The third opportunity, we can wait and see if they can get such success in the future. So from my observation, I think in the future, the best scenario for India is to become the colony of United States, the economic colony of the United States. Now, for Modi government is the alliance of Brahmin and Banya. The Banya class is it's a national capitalist. It's a national capitalist in Indian society. So they have some nationalist enthusiasms. But if India become a follower of United States after this terrible war, then the Banyas will defeated. The Adani Abani and Adani will defeated. They cannot compete with the U.S. companies. We know that. They cannot compete with the United and Western companies. They can only monopoly in Indian market. So the future for them it will be defeated by U.S. companies.
Dr. Liu, in the recent past, we have seen foreign investors who are in China moving out of China. Some going to Vietnam, some coming to India, some going to Indonesia and places like that. Do you also see a situation where, I'm now talking about South Asia, Chinese entrepreneurs making an effort to move out of China, or may not be the right word, move out of China, seek investment opportunities in larger numbers in countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, or in South Asia?
Of course.
Do you have that kind of situation?
Yeah, of course. A lot of Chinese private sectors would like to invest in these regions. Yeah, in Bangladesh, before the uprising last October, there are almost 700 Chinese companies in Bangladesh. 700, yeah. Almost it's about 200 state-owned companies, state-owned enterprises, and almost 500 private companies. Yeah, at that time, it's how many people? I forget how many people. It's maybe it's 16,000 Chinese. Now, after the uprising, after the revolution, it's about 6,000 people.
So is it correct to assume that Bangladesh is a preferred location for Chinese investors in South Asia as against other South Asian countries? Of course, India is not a but other South Asian countries.
Actually, now Sri Lanka's condition is much better than Bangladesh. Yeah, because the political stability in Bangladesh has not been achieved. The political parties such as the BNP, they would like to the general election as soon as possible. And the United government, they want to sustain for a long time. So there's some uncertainty. It's a reason why some Chinese businessmen did not come back after the revolution.
My last question is, What do you think Sri Lanka should do to attract Chinese investment into this country? Can you just think about it? What should we do? Or what we are not doing at the moment?
Yeah, I think you should do some promotion to add advertisement to Chinese companies. Yeah, and
Do you have anything else to ask from Dr. Liu?
Well, in,
I think you
Chinese-
can contact with the Chinese embassy.
We are in
Ambassador,
close.
yeah, ambassador to ask him what the Chinese companies would like to come here.
my final question is, if Chinese government want to support the countries in the south like Sri Lanka, I think it is high time. China being a country which has received huge gain in world trade, should extend non-reciprocal treatment, considering the asymmetry of development in the negotiations and when you enter in the trade deal with such countries, non-reciprocal treatment, which is not has not been demonstrated even in the negotiation treatment. So that kind of message should go there. And also, secondly, special effort to promote imports from these countries to China. You know, I remember those days, developed countries had organized, fund them, developed country fund, import promoting organizations, similar kind of vision to address this imbalance. That way, your mutual relationship, those in the countries in the south, can be further enhanced. This is just a thought.
Yes. Yeah, we actually, when we talk with, discuss with South Asian friends, they always ask these questions. I think for Sri Lanka, it's better because your tourism is developed. It's so developed. So you can absorb Chinese tourists come here. It's export for you. Export for you. Chinese tourists here and export for Sri Lanka. Yeah, and also you have a lot of qualified products. Actually, Chinese market is open for the developed countries. For most of the developed countries, is the products from your countries. I think it's tariff free. Yeah, it's tariff free or 90% tariff free for your products. For Bangladesh, it's almost all the products from exported to China from Bangladesh is tariff free. No tariff for.
That was under the what you call the LDC treatment.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka is not.
Oh yes. Maybe I don't know the ratio for your products. How much is tariff free?
No. Product interest to us are still. There is a high tariff, right? Say apparel, right? This is one of the negotiation issues. The bilateral product. Your tariff structure is, the fairly duty free by 75% of the product. But product interest to us still face a high tariff. I cannot remember.
Okay. I think you can discuss with Chinese.
That's a bilateral negotiation.
Yeah, ministry.
Yes.
You can negotiate on these issues.
Yeah, this is another free trade agreement with China, with Sri Lanka now going on last, I think, 15 years. Nearly 15 years.
Rubber price.
No deal because of various, not only due to the Chinese government, but also from our. So that can give a good over. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you so
No more
much.
questions?
Dr. Lee, I would
Yeah.
like to ask a question.
Yeah.
Looking at the past 7 years since the trade war started, it has impacted the global supply chain, economic side. And also looking at the current challenges you clearly explained today. How do you see if you move to 2030? What are the two scenarios you can
2030.
2030. What are the two scenarios you can see forecast looking at the past, present challenges, where the world economy is going to be by 2030?
World economy by 2030. Yeah, we hope China and the United States can coexist peacefully and solve the economic trade disputes. We hope that. But from the lessons of history, you can find in the 1930s, you can find the historical scenario at that time. Because of the trade wars between different countries, and because of the imbalanced economic development among different countries, there world war, two world wars. So we would like to avoid that, try our best to avoid that. Yeah, I think. But from a scholar's understanding, observation, I think Chinese side also do some preparation for the best scenario, for the worst scenario. Yeah, it's conflict between China and United States. Yeah, we also did some preparation, and you can find in the recent years, Chinese has showed some developed weaponries, advanced weaponries, just like showed by Pakistan Air Force in the recent conflict between Pakistan and India. Yeah, you know the J10CE is just the it's not the advanced weaponry in China. Yeah, maybe it's the third level in China.
So J10 is the one which is deployed by Pakistani forces?
Yes. It's just at the third level. We have G36, G50. It's a sixth generation's jet fighter, and we have G20 and G35. It's a fifth generation's jet fighter, and actually J10CE is just the third half and fourth generation. So it's not the advanced one. And we also did some other preparations for in the sea and in the land. So we don't want to see that worst scenario, but we must prepare for that best scenario. I think China would like to maintain the peace and the stability for the whole region.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leo, very much for being with us this afternoon. Particularly happy to see you at the Pathfinder Foundation. Your presence here was useful for us to understand China's policy towards the global economic situation in particular. And we will see how best we could continue this kind of dialogue between our two institutions.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank you very
Ambassador.
much.
Thank you.